Promoting dialogue.
It's midday in Dakar, 1 p.m. in Lagos. Good afternoon and welcome to Newslink live on West Africa, Democracy Radio, 94.9 FM Dakar, Senegal, and online at wadr.org. Here are the top stories. ECOWAS Chiefs of Staff move to increase regional standby force against terrorism. Nigeria's new police chief vows crack down on corruption and impunity amid rising insecurity.
The era of impunity is over. I will try to follow a regime of zero tolerance to corruption.
Latest report by International Federation of Journalists reveals 128 deaths of media professionals in 2025. Guinea unveils new census figures showing over 17 million population.
A vivid snapshot of Guinea, now home to 17,528,167 people.
Please stay with us for details of these stories and more.
On the news, this is Augustine Bill Coley.
Many thanks for joining our broadcast. We begin in Sierra Leone, where the chiefs of staff of ECOWAS member states have been meeting since Tuesday. They are discussing the future of the organization's standby force. The ECOWAS Chief of Staff are also deliberating on efforts to strengthen counter-terrorism mechanisms in the sub-region. Usma Uma completes the story.
The objective of the meeting is to discuss the future of the ECOWAS standby force and the fight against terrorism, according to General Amara Idara Bangura, head of the Sierra Leonean Armed Forces. All countries in the region support the rapid establishment of the standby force. During this gathering, each country is expected to announce the number of soldiers it will contribute to the force, aiming to mobilize a total of 2,000 additional troops in the first phase. Authorities say this phase is planned before the end of 2026 to counter the terrorist threat. The aim is to halt the expansion of the Islamic State in the Sahel and JNIM, whose attacks are increasingly approaching the coastal countries of West Africa. To achieve the success of this initiative, participants at the meeting suggested that ECOWAS member states rely on their own resources rather than waiting for external funding. Another point raised during the meeting was the collaboration between the AES countries and ECOWAS. According to several participants, the West African organization must work with these Central Sahel states to address the escalating security issues.
Usma Uma 5, that report in Nigeria, the National Police leadership has changed hands, with Tunji Disu formally assuming office as Acting Inspector General of Police. His appointment follows the resignation of his predecessor, Kayode Egbetokun, marking a new chapter within the force. The new police chief, who previously served as Assistant Inspector General, pledges zero tolerance for corruption and impunity within the service. WADR's Abuja correspondent Yechenu Sasetu reports.
President Bola Tinubu decorated Assistant Inspector General Tunji Disu with his new rank as Acting Inspector General of Police during a ceremony at the State House in Abuja on Wednesday. The event followed a day after the resignation of former IGP Kayode Egbetokun. However, Disu's appointment comes at a critical moment as Nigeria continues to confront rising insecurity and public concerns about policing. During the ceremony, President Bola Tinubu charged the new police chief.
Lead firmly but fairly, demand professionalism at every level, and ensure that safety of lives and property remains our highest priority.
Addressing journalists shortly after the event, Disu vowed to stamp out corruption and restore discipline within the Nigeria police force.
The era of impunity is over. I will ensure that I train them and encourage them to ensure they follow human rights. I will ensure that they know that I will try to follow a regime of zero tolerance to corruption.
Also reacting, former Inspector General of Police Kayode Egbetokun advised the new acting IGP to remain committed to his duties.
He knows all those things we've been doing together, restructuring our intelligence coordination, improving interagency deployment model, dismantling several criminal syndicates. I'm sure he's going to continue to do that, and improving our intelligence response mechanisms.
The new acting IGP's priorities include tackling corruption, motivating officers, and addressing emerging threats, with leadership now expected to steer the force toward greater accountability and operational impact. For WADR, Yechenu Sasitu in Abuja.
Away from Nigeria, experts from the Volta Basin Authority are meeting in Lomé, Togo, to finalize a strategic framework aimed at strengthening sustainable development across the Volta Basin. It is an initiative that seeks to better integrate environmental value into the economic planning and decision-making of countries that share the basin's resources. The fourth-day working session is scheduled to conclude on Friday, February 27, 2026. Let's join Christopher Aticho for the details.
At the heart of the discussions is the validation of Deliverable 4, a document that assesses the environmental capital and services provided by the basin's ecosystem. Hydropower, agriculture, and aquaculture are some major resources that support national economies. The Deputy Executive Director of the Sub-Regional Organization, Dr. D.B. Melogo, said the goal is to provide member states with robust environmental indicators and a common methodological framework. This meeting is part of a series of technical workshops organized since 2025 to harmonize approaches among the 6 member countries. The anticipated recommendations should influence policies related to water, energy, and ecosystem preservation, spanning 407,000 kilometers square across Burkina Faso, Mali, Benin, Togo, Côte d'Ivoire, and Ghana. The Volta Basin is a strategic area characterized by strong interdependence among these countries. In a context of demographic pressure and climate change, the initiative aims to reconcile economic development and sustainability for more consented and responsible management of the basin resources.
A report from our Lomé correspondent, Sylvie Wadrago, voiced by Christopher Aticho.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Now to the Central Sahel region, particularly Mali, where the oil sector is entering a new phase. A year after Total Energies withdrew from the country, the supervision of its network of service stations has officially changed. Since January 2026, the sector has been under the control of NDC Energies, a national company regarded as strategic to ensuring fuel supply and supporting electricity production. Abdullahi Hassan tells us more in this report.
NDC Energy has now taken control of one of Mali's reliable networks responsible for hydrocarbon supply. The company, which previously owned only 4 stations in Bamako, now has 80 service stations and a fleet of more than 200 tanker trucks. For more than 25 years, it was operated by Total Energies before being sold in 2025 to the Beninese company Koli Energy Company, an affiliate of the Benin Petrol Group. Through this acquisition, NDC strengthens local fuel distribution, an essential element for electricity production. Garba Jallo, an energy specialist, speaks about this latest development.
Electricity production is practically 110% thermal. Thermal power refers to generators, and these generators are fueled by fuel. Whether now, given that if a national company, NDC, manages to acquire the Total Group, it will increase the supply not only of fuel but also of fuel storage. So, I believe this gap will already be filled. It will also allow the electricity sales and production company to truly go beyond its current production levels.
The return of Total Energy's network to national control by NDC Energy marks a major step for the Malian oil sector and the country's energy safety. This comes at a time when fuel supplies were disrupted in 2025 by insecurity. In recent months, the Group for the Support of Islam and Muslim (GNIM) has intensified attacks on tanker trucks supplying Bamako with petroleum products.
Bamako correspondent Aliyu Cham's report, presented by Abdullahi Hassan. We turn to Guinea as the country is facing a new demographic reality. Preliminary results of the 4th General Population and Housing Census were presented on Wednesday in Conakry. According to the official figures, Guinea's population now stands at 17,521,167 inhabitants. The updated data is expected to serve as a critical tool for guiding public policy, development planning, and resource allocation nationwide. Sankule Janko gives the details in this report.
The figures from the General Population and Housing Census followed several months of data collection across Guinea. The Minister of Planning and International Cooperation, Ismail Nabe, presented the results and emphasized their strategic importance for the country.
A vivid snapshot of Guinea, now home to 17,528,167 people. It highlights its youthful population, with those under 35 representing 79% of the total, comprising 51.8% of women and 48.2% men. This serves as a starting point for better planning our infrastructure and anticipating future needs in education, healthcare, employment, and land use planning.
The exercise was largely financed by the Guinean government in collaboration with its partners. It relied on mapping carried out in 2024, subdividing the territory into enumeration areas to ensure accurate data collection. Prime Minister Amadou Ouriba is calling on the government to adapt its priorities in light of the new requirements revealed by the report.
The need to anticipate and plan for this, because families will need schools, planned housing, and our spending will require investment in improving the living conditions of the population.
With more than 17 million inhabitants, Guinea is entering a new phase of its demographic evolution. For the authorities, the challenge is now clear: adapting public policies to new demographic realities to meet the needs of citizens.
A report from Conakry correspondent Channel Alpha Ibrahim Balde, voiced by Sankule Janko. The International Federation of Journalists, RFJ, has published its 35th annual report, which lists the number of media professionals killed in the discharge of their duty in 2025. The report, released on Wednesday, documents 128 media professionals killed, including 11 women and 9 accidental deaths. According to the report, 18 journalists were killed in Africa, including 7 accidental deaths in Nigeria and 1 in Burundi. For the third consecutive year, the Middle East and the Arab world represent the deadliest region for journalists in 2025. Meanwhile, the Federation predicts that about 74 journalists are expected to be killed in the Middle East and Arab world, including 56 in Palestine and 1 accidental death in Iran. The IFJ calls on UN member states to urgently adopt the International Convention on the Safety and Independence of Journalists initiated by the IFJ to end the cycle of violence and impunity. Here in Senegal, opposition leader Barthélémy Dias denounces the persistent hardships on the ordinary citizens. The leader of Senegal Benobok Party voices concern about the living conditions of Senegalese and outlines measures he believes are necessary to addressing the situation. He made the remarks during a press conference on Wednesday following a nationwide tour. Imo Edit reports.
During his press engagement, Barthélémy Dias said Senegal is sick. He attributed his statement to persistent challenges affecting ordinary Senegalese citizens. The opposition leader and former mayor of Dakar made the assertions following his recent nationwide tour across the country's 14 regions.
My dear compatriots, Senegal is sick. What we have witnessed is not simply a delay, but a complete collapse, and the government is struggling to produce any meaningful figures. Senegal Benibok is concerned about the sudden fire at the Ministry of Finance, the sudden burglary at the IT Department of Treasury, and the sudden cyber attack against the Automation Department.
Barthélémy Dias said for several weeks he engaged with various segments of Senegalese society According to him, the main concerns of the citizens are the high cost of living, unemployment, and the difficulties faced by rural communities. The Senegal Binu Bok Party leader also calls on Senegalese authorities to change course to meet the needs of the Senegalese people.
We demand non-negotiable transparency regarding a common heritage of the Senegalese people, particularly oil and gas revenue. Senegal Binu Bok proposes the preservation of student achievements, respect for the state commitment, especially towards union members, and a structured, funded, and monitored national irrigation plan for the population of the North.
Jas says he now expects concrete actions in response to the difficulties he has raised. He reaffirms his position as an opposition figure who maintains pressure on the government in the interest of the ordinary citizens.
That's Imo Edit with a report filed by Aja Ndur. You are listening to Newslink live on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM Dakar, Senegal, and online at wadr.org. Here is a reminder of our top stories. ECOWAS Chiefs of Staff move to increase regional standby force against terrorism. Nigeria's new police chief vows crackdown on corruption and impunity amid rising insecurity. Latest report by International Federation of Journalists reveals 128 deaths of media professionals in 2025. Guinea unveils new census figures showing over 17 million population. Still ahead, we have a press review, guest interview, and sports news. Please stay with us.
Fresh and breaking news all the time. Hear it first as the news breaks, only on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Many thanks for being with us. We stream live on YouTube at WADR and on Facebook, WADR English Service. Let's now take you to Ghana, where the Revenue Authority has interdicted 5 officers of its Customs Division following the interception of 18 articulated trucks suspected to be part of a transit diversion scheme. According to the authorities, the suspected scheme exposed the state to more than 85 million cedis in potential revenue losses. The move forms part of a broader government crackdown on smuggling and abuse of Ghana's transit trade regime. WADR's Accra correspondent Nadia Detete reports.
Management of the Ghana Revenue Authority says the interdictions take immediate effect pending investigations into suspected procedural breaches. The action stems from a February 18 joint customs national security operation at the Akanu and Aflao borders, where 18 trucks declared for transit to Niger were intercepted with cooking oil, spaghetti, and tomato paste. Checks revealed discrepancies in declared values, tariff classifications, and cargo weights, escalating the estimated revenue exposure from 2.6 million cedis to over 85 million cedis. Preliminary findings further indicates the trucks were electronically cleared but moved without the mandatory customs escort. President John Dramani Mahama has condemned the practice, describing those involved as saboteurs of the state.
Smuggling under declaration, counterfeit goods, and rebagging of inferior products are not minor infractions. They constitute economic sabotage. To stem this tide and protect our fledgling manufacturing sector, we will intensify coordinated border enforcement, treat trade infractions as economic crimes, dismiss and prosecute public officers found culpable, deploy technology-driven customs surveillance solutions, and rigorously enforce product standards.
Meanwhile, Deputy Finance Minister Thomas Nyako Ampim says government is tightening monitoring systems to seal loopholes in the transit regime. Enhanced cargo tracking, stricter escort protocols, and tighter border supervision are to be implemented. Government has also banned the land transit of commercial quantities of cooking oil, directing that such consignments pass exclusively through Ghana's seaports. The GRA says investigations are ongoing and further action will be taken where necessary. For WADR, Nadia Detete, Accra.
This is the newspaper review. Stay abreast and find out what the top stories are in your country.
This is the newspaper review.
The newspaper review.
Well, we remain in Accra with Nadia Detete for the press review.
Greetings. Welcome to the newspaper review segment. We'll start off with the Daily Graphic newspaper front page. Work starts on $250 million Kedah glass factory. Group to pay 1 billion Ghana cedis taxes annually. Also here, Finance Minister unveils external reserves policy, and we are confident of passing anti-money laundering framework. That's according to the FIC boss. And final story here, government probes electricity bills and meter issues. The Daily Guide newspaper front page, government targets 15 months import cover with gold. Minority slums government over new district assemblies common fund guidelines breach, and NPA extortion and buffer store cases moved to new court. Also here, 5 GRA officers interdicted over cargo transit scandal. The National Enquirer, majority of cocoa farmers accept new price. That's according to latest poll by Global Info Analytics. Mahama announces duty and tax-free incentives for factories under 24-hour economy. The Daybreak newspaper, PBC bus Atlas commodities over unlawful use of facilities, national security and soldiers cry over low alawa, and government targets $20 billion in reserves. The Searchlight newspaper, common fund distribution, government acting lawlessly, minority says, and activists laud government for reverting KIA name to Accra International Airport. That's it for the newspaper review segment. Is back to you in the studio.
Thanks to Nad, editor for the press review.
Politics,
Analysis on major news,
social matters, and all. This is The Guest.
The guest interview segment focuses on Nigeria as the country's acting police inspector general Tunji Disu pledges zero tolerance for corruption and impunity within the service. Tunji, who previously served as assistant inspector general, was formally decorated by President Tinubu on Wednesday at the State House. However, the appointment of the new police chief comes as Nigeria grapples with rising insecurity. Our guest is Rochak Gomot, a Nigerian security analyst who shares his insight on the matter.
I think we can respect the position of the former IGP, but it is clear that security situation in the country has continued to go from bad to worse. I would think, in my opinion, that would have informed why the president had asked him to resign his position as the Inspector General of Police.
Contrary to what he said, that he is resigning as a result of family considerations, you believe that he was forced to resign by the president?
Yes, I think the president is at the center of it, considering the recent spark of killings and massacre here and there in the country, especially in the north central of Nigeria. I think that would have informed that. And secondly, the IGP himself has been under fire. Some section of Nigerians believe that he has overstayed his welcome in public service because he was due to have retired on attaining 60 years of age. And I think that has been something that has been on his back, where the president decided to extend his stay as IGP. And that has also been an issue. He's tried to weigh it off, and it's not been able to do that.
Let's reflect on his stay as the IGP in Nigeria. What would you say were his major shortcomings?
The police, under his watch, really failed to get the necessary intelligence needed to stop crimes from happening. I think that has been a bane on his stay in office because crimes have been perpetuated. The police seem to be handicapped in understanding when, where, and how these things are happening. So kidnappings are just being carried, families. You check the records in money that have been paid to kidnappings. It's just on rise. So it will seem that the intelligence part of the Nigerian police was lacking in either funding. Largely, the thing is, intelligence was really down, and that will be one of the legacies that he would have left behind.
All right. What do you think the new acting IGP Disu can do differently, especially in a context where Nigeria is approaching elections next year? What could be done differently?
I think Inspector General Tunji will have quite a lot of work on his hands. He has served in some of the most controversial states of the country. He has served in Lagos, he has served in Rivers. And of course, anyone who has served in Rivers with the election brouhaha around Rivers State, I'm pretty sure that he will have an idea of what he wants to do. And to add to it, he is immediate pals, head of intelligence, sort of a cliche anyway, but I will assume that by now, since he is at the helm of affairs, he will make sure that the intelligence that he's been feeding on the table of his predecessor should be dispatched, that part of the intelligence should function optimally.
Nigerian security analyst Roshak Gomot in conversation with Veronique Njai. Well, in sports, a Nigerian court has charged the driver involved in the crash that injured British-Nigerian heavyweight boxer Anthony Joshua and killed 2 members of his team. Joshua's personal trainer Latif Ayodele and strength coach Sina Gami died when the Lexus Zuf collided with a stationary lorry on the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway on December 29. The driver, 46-year-old Adeniyi Mobolaji Kayode, is facing charges including causing death by dangerous driving and driving without a valid license. He appeared before a magistrate's court in Ogun State, where the case was adjourned until March 13. In the UEFA Champions League, Vinicius Junior scored as Real Madrid defeated Benfica to reach the last 16 with a 3-1 aggregate victory. Paris Saint-Germain also progressed, edging Monaco 5-4 on aggregate after a tense second leg in Paris. Elsewhere, Atalanta beat Borussia Dortmund 4-1 on the night to go through 4-3 on aggregate. Juventus defeated Galatasaray 3-2, but the Turkish side advanced 7-5 overall on aggregate. And those are the latest in the world of sports. With that, we've come to the end of this edition of Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM Dakar, Senegal, and online at wadr.org. Thank you for listening. Many thanks to Mustafa Sek and Maudo Ju for the technical support. Do interact with us via our social media platforms, including X, Instagram, and Facebook at WADR English Service. I am Augustine Curley. Good afternoon.
And many thanks to you for listening to Newslink via Hot 104.3 FM,
Hilltop Radio 104.7 FM,
and Veritas Radio 102.9 in Banjul, the Gambia. We also appreciate our listeners in Liberia via Alternative Youth Radio 98.9 FM, Lofa County,
Radio Kagama 94.5 FM, Niba County, DCN Radio 91.3 FM, Riverside County, Wakat FM Radio, Banga, Liberia, Radio Baf FM 91.3 Sierra Leone in Nigeria, and Love 104.5 FM, Abuja.